So Somali terrorists have threatened America's biggest mall, a threat that reveals an obvious truth, that the phrase gun-free zone is liberal for sitting duck. Gun-free is music to the ears of fiends who target the unarmed on purpose. Fact, the Soldier Readiness Processing Center at Fort Hood was gun-free at the time of that attack. If you think that's a coincidence, then 9/11 happened because of fog. When Hassan was shot, the attack ended. Fact, a massacre's duration is dictated by the time other bullets arrive. For as great as the police is, in every attack they show up afterwards. Then, whether it's Paris or Australia, they factor casualties before going in. You want to be part of that math? Research shows felons avoid armed targets. Hell, even Media Matters wouldn't put a gun-free sticker on their office window. And for every TV hack dismissing these notions, that's done from a secured perch. They should thank the Second Amendment for protecting the First. Their complacency is a byproduct of a well-armed society. The civility that makes you think massacres can't happen here depends on the armed American who makes those threats costly. Gun-free zones remove that. So as we witness a new emerging savagery, why not cherish our well-armed independence? Why not have our enemies think they're not the only crazies who cling to religion and guns? If you can't beat them, shoot them. How do you feel about the idea of concealed permits being in public places?
I think that I'm for the police being armed at the mall, at the very least.
Right.
On concealed carry, I could see being for it. Mm-hmm. I don't personally have one, obviously, because I live in New York City, but I don't know. That's just a personal thing for me. I don't have one. I don't even know if I would have one anywhere else. But now I just realized I've just labeled myself as a gun-free zone, and I'm referring back to your monologue, and I think I need to have a sticker that says I have a gun.
You carry a squirt gun filled with very hot tea. Anybody comes at you, just squirt it right in the eyes. All right, Juan, I know what you're already going to say. Do Americans need to arm themselves in the face of new terror, or is this NRA-fueled paranoia?
NRA-fueled, in your hot tea in your eye, paranoia.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the reality is, look, they've always been bad guys out there. I think the mall had to go back, though, and say that there was misinterpretation of the concealed carry law in Minnesota because they were telling people at the door, don't bring your guns, and apparently people are allowed to do that. Mm-hmm. But my point to you is, you know what? You and I are not coming up against ISIS over here on 6th Avenue. What we come up against most often, I think it's now half of most of the killings in this country are done by family. Mm-hmm. And another third are people involved with drug deals and robberies. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, it's like this guy, there was a story in the paper today about a guy who was a policeman out in White Plains. He shot both daughters, then killed himself, suicide. That's what goes on with guns. That's why I think it's NRA.
Can I jump in and stop this?
Well, no, first I want to point out that you are suffering from, again, ocean privilege because you live over here and not over there. It's not a problem.
You started the comment, Juan, with the reality is, and spewed nothing but, in fact, there was no reality in anything you said. Here's the real reality.
That's kind of mean, but
here are the numbers.
It's all right.
Pew Research, you're okay with their research? Pew?
Yeah, they're very good.
Over the last 20 years, the gun ownership has peaked right now at its highest level in 22 years at 47% of households have a gun. Over that same period of time, Pew and the Federal Bureau of Statistics says violent crimes, including murder, have plummeted 49%. Violent crimes, not non-murder, but with gun, have plummeted 75%. So as we arm ourselves in America, our violent crime rate is plummeting. Therefore, the reality is more guns means a safer America.
Boy, that's some flawed logic. You mean you think that better policing,
more guns,
a different society? You mean you don't think anything but guns is the reason for that?
No, but this is what's called, Juan, a hate fact. It's a fact that you hate.
Right.
But there's a lot of research. John Lott has done a lot of research looking at specific gun control laws, and they find that permits are the only way that or correlated to reduced crime.
The situation with Mall of America is completely ridiculous. It's just the opposite of what they should be doing. If we're threatened with an attack of any type, the last thing you ever want to do is disarm citizens. So basically, they're making a killing zone. If I were a terrorist, the first place that I would look to go to inflict harm or mass casualties would be a place where people were unarmed.
The one reason why there will not be a jihad, there won't be a holy war on American soil against Americans, is because there's 300 million firearms in America.
Oh my
320
God!
million
Why don't you
Americans.
stop? Did that stop the Twin Towers?
No,
Oh,
no, I didn't
oh,
say there won't be attacks, Juan. I said that the jihad will never happen on our turf because no terrorist organization is stupid enough to try and take on America when we have a Second Amendment.
You know,
Which protects our right
this is so
to
wild
defend
to me.
ourselves.
You know what
That
you
just
sound
doesn't
like?
make-
It sounds
that
like
makes sense, though, Juan.
No,
How
it
can you
doesn't
deny
make
that?
sense. It makes no sense. You know, I sometimes come up again. You know,
He's saying like
reading-
an armed jihad on
No,
the
but I'm
street,
saying,
people kinda
you know, you think back to other periods of unrest in American history. You know, the police and the military, they have the most weapons. They're the ones that have
And
the
that's
guns.
a good thing.
Okay, but
no,
now,
actually they don't. Americans have the most weapons.
No, I'm
by
talking.
far.
Oh, if you want to know who's armed, sometimes go visit your U.S. military. I'll tell you that.
I think what's
Thank
the
goodness.
point?
Well,
Yeah, I'm all
What
for
is-
it. I think that the police and the military should have guns.
So
but,
do I.
but-
I'm not
but
saying
you're
take the
saying
guns out.
you're saying, oh no, every citizen.
Saying
it's
in
better
addition to
if
police and
all of us
military.
on the 5 had a gun, including
I do.
Dana.
I do.
That'd be
I
great.
applaud that.
All right. No. You know why? Because then I'd get shot first. No, I just don't think that makes sense.
No.
That everybody in the mall has a gun. Let the police protect us.
No, I think that, you know what, this is not an either or, like everybody's armed and everybody's not. The concealed permit, it creates a level of uncertainty
Right.
on the people that are choosing an attack. It's basically saying there's an extra variable that is unknown. But for example, a uniformed police officer, if you're planning attack, you see the uniform, you wait until the uniform leaves, or you choose another target. But I don't know if Juan Williams is armed or Eric Bolling is armed.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
So about the lying part, yeah, gotta lie.
Yeah.
On my old house, massive sign, beware of dog, like
Yep.
vicious, like
Always
Cujo.
but beware of dog.
And my dog's like this and beep, 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 beep.
I want to
You
put
accuse
my
it of being a stuffed animal, but that's what people do. They say armed by ADT, security, blah, 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 all of
my
that.
gun permit right on my window. Right there. There it is. You want?
But let me just ask, are you guys really saying that at Sandy Hook all the kids should have guns?
No, we're not.
What are
You're
you
saying that.
But I'm just saying, it's just so ridiculous.
come on.
Everybody should have a gun. You go in
But
the
have you been
military.
drinking from the
Fort
Crazy
Hood.
Cup?
Oh my
Because-
God, Fort
no.
Hood.
I don't recall saying that,
Nobody
Juan.
said
That's an
that.
old left-wing thing where you
Oh,
put
yeah?
words in people's mouths.
Oh no, I don't have to put words in your mouth. Your words are so, I think, on point. So you made a cogent argument for
I know, but you-
guns everywhere. Now I say, hey, Greg, you made an argument for everybody having a gun. Oh no, I didn't say that.
No, I didn't say, oh, let's give guns to children.
You said give everybody.
No,
a
I'm
gun.
not- did I
who
say
wants,
that?
Who
No,
wants,
no,
who
no.
wants an
He
attack at a
said
school?
don't. He
Because
said-
you said if they had guns,
What?
that would be less
You got
likely
me.
a target.
You got me, Juan. I
Oh,
said,
my God.
babies should have guns.
Yeah,
I
really.
said it here, America. We should arm the, it's an infantry.